thank God first and foremost, and I also appreciate the founders for having such an extravagant event such as this, Miss Barbara and Miss Melanie Griffith. So thank you all for this opportunity. I'm a published author. I am currently going to be having my 5th book come out. It's called Dying to Be Straight. I'm actually going to be reading from my poetry book that I first wrote back in 2004. One of my first poems is called I Like the Way You Make My Coffee. 1 cup of coffee you give me every day. I love the cream and sugar so sweet. I wish I had leftovers for you to drink. You immaculate my mind because we're equal all the time. We are carefully brewed, not too hot, not too cool. I prefer caffeinated so I can go a little bit longer. But you often give me decaf so we can just sit back and laugh. I remember one time you gave me too much sugar, and in 1 minute, 6 seconds, it was all over. You give me coffee on every other day, but this night will stir the night away.
This is called Where Have the Seagulls Gone? This is a historical fiction. The future, as Aki saw it, was not clear at all. The rumors about the Japanese planes attacking Pearl Harbor in Hawaii had started around 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time that day. 2 hours later, it was still hard to believe. How could the Emperor of Japan attack the United States? Aki joined her mother at the breakfast table. To her surprise, her father was sitting at the table reading the morning paper. "Father, are you going to work today?" Aki asked. "I am staying home today," he said in English, a language he normally did not speak inside the house. He looked over the top of the newspaper and said, "But you are going to school." "Why can't I stay home like you?" she asked. Aki's father placed the newspaper on the table and said, "Aki, you must go to school. It is very important for you to prove to everyone that you are an American just like they are."
Through God's eyes. Unsure of the unknown, ever so slowly I tend to move. Deeply compelled to answer your call. Wondering if my eyes are open, I close them tightly and reflect on all the things you're showing me. Choose life, my child. You will never walk alone. I release, set free, and yes, by my blood, you are redeemed. Up, climb a little higher. Knowing this life, sometimes we may have to crawl, yet it is in my plan. Courage, allowing your spirit to be set free. No cost, I've paid the price. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. I've prepared your enemies to be at your footstool. Release, relax, rejoice, celebrate new life. Love, emulating me, for I am the answers to all your questions, the inner peace you seek. Uplifting me sends refreshing showers down the open door to your liberty. If only you would open your eyes to me.
Although this looked like a beautiful book, but the things that went on in this house were truly amazing. It's an autobiography, it's about me. And I'd just like to read a chapter 2 of it. The leaves had already started falling from the trees. I knew that Mama wasn't going to beat me with switches. They would only break. I thought again, maybe I would just get severely punished. Nothing could have been farther from the truth. Mama went back into the house and yelled for me to come in. She went into her bedroom and told me to get undressed and prepare for my execution. Mama came out of the room with a very thick, large black belt that had a very large, shiny buckle on it. It was as long and as thick as the barbers used to sharpen their razors. I stood in front of Mama, stark naked and shaking like a leaf on a tree. I was very frightened. I prayed that God would take my soul because I knew my flesh was about to leave my body. Mama was cursing and fussing, but all that was going on through my mind was, where in the heck did she get that big black belt from?
Written and am launching right now is the first ever full collection, 35 book collection series of children's Bible stories that are ethnically diverse. I don't know how many of you realize that the word Egypt, the Egyptian people and Egypt is written in the Bible over 700 times, and Ethiopia and Ethiopian people are talked about in the Bible over 40 times. I'm launching 3 books right now. The first one is called Jesus, My Lord. These books are coming out in February of next year, 2012. And page 1 says, Jesus is the most important person for all people. He is God's son. He was born in a town called Bethlehem, which was in Judea. His mother's name was Mary, and his stepfather's name was Joseph. When Jesus was born, wise men came to worship him and brought him gifts.
The title of it is Lies of the Father. It was the classic rendition of He Said, She Said. But this time she was siding with Team She Said because she believed her daughter. Kara would have no reason to lie, and Don would if he was guilty. Kate was going to protect her daughter, period. She believed the words that Kara spoke, and at this point, there was no reason to doubt her. Then the police informed her that there was sufficient evidence to arrest Don, which was good enough for Kate. It wasn't just good enough to cement her support of Don through this. So here she was, listening to a daughter tell her what a mother never wants to hear, and a husband who had been arrested because of it. She took Kara in her arms and held her close. They clung to each other for comfort and strength. Neither one of them spoke a single word, but they understood the pain they were feeling and that their world had just been shattered. Chapter 2. Don Nelson was a devoted husband, father, good provider, and avid sports fan. Now he could add something else to the list. Inmate.
I have my first book will be coming out in November. It's titled Pink Diamonds. It's really a book beyond romance. It's about a couple and their relationship and what happens after the trust is gone in a relationship. I was inconsolable because I loved him. For the next month, I berated myself, and that day in the bar, I was still bleeding inside. When Roger came over and sat on the stool next to me, the last thing I wanted was male companionship. "Hi," he said. I didn't answer. I didn't want to be bothered. I wasn't interested at first, but the smell of his cologne, in spite of the smoke, hit me so divinely I felt compelled to look. I turned around very slowly and came nose to nose with a face that rendered me speechless. He observed the pleasant smile on my face and smiled at me in total satisfaction. He was young, probably jailbait, I thought. I closed my gaping mouth, took a deep breath, and summoned my best mad black woman attitude, crossed my eyes and looked away, but my heart, in spite of my head, gave a little dance. "Are you gay?" he asked. He was serious. My mouth fell open in surprise. The question made me smile both inside and out. "Maybe," I replied with a glass halfway to my mouth. "I haven't tried it yet, so I really haven't decided." He laughed loud and deep, and at that very moment, I decided he could have anything he wanted. But first, he would have to work for it. Thank you.
Shame to Die, Silence, Denial, and AIDS in the South, and it's scheduled to be published on November 1st. The choral group filled the room as if they were a mass choir of 100 voices. Leaning on the everlasting arms, the floorboards shook, leather shoes stomped. The Lord is my shepherd. Psalm 23 was Robbie's favorite. The congregation of mourners broke into song again. You are my refuge. When I call, you answer. As if by rote, the mourners rose en masse. Their feet stomped in time. The floorboards shook again and recalled. In one pew, all the men wore dark shades. On a cloudy day, sunglasses aren't to protect their eyes. They hide tears along with the fear and anxiety that attends a funeral for a friend, maybe a former lover, who fell by AIDS. I will not fear the terror by night, for angels are encamped around me, they sang. I trust the Lord, someone shouted. I will not fear the terror by day. Caroline Brown's soprano rose in a crescendo. But there seemed to be a vacuum, a missing voice, an emptiness Robbie's tenor usually filled. Brown first met Robbie in 1983 in the play Ain't Misbehaving. He was always about singing, she said. He loves to sing. She spoke of Robbie in the present tense, as if the man whose voice had lifted hers for the past decade would never be stilled, never be silent. Thanks.
I promise not to be too long because I think the chicken is out and I don't want my food to get cold. So, I'm new to the Tallahassee area, so I want to thank Barbara for inviting me out again for the second time. This is a chapter from a novel I'm working on. The book will be out when it's finished. Okay. She flew towards me, a thick, wavy ponytail dancing about her head. Launching all 50 pounds of her petite 4-foot frame into my open arms should have knocked me off balance. But I wouldn't let her fall. Not now, not ever. I've missed you. She hummed a gentle song of sorrow into the side of my face. Her warm breath and tight hug made all my worries secondary to the enchanted moment. The soft breeze of the spring evening painted a dreamlike picture as we embraced just below the elevated porch in the front yard of her mother's house. And that was the toxic to our moment. This was her mother's house, not our home. The grumbling of a clearing adult feminine throat evaded our private Eden. You bring a check? The raspy voice was as sexy and potent as the first time I heard it those few years back. I looked upward and traced the sound of dejection to the top step of the elevated concrete porch. Mother and daughter were mirror images of each other. Everything about Eva resided in the face of Danita. The innocence, the vulnerability, the warmth, the unconditional love. I'll tell her you said goodnight. You can pick up on Friday. Everything but that spiteful and malicious spirit resided in her mama's heart. That's it.
I have a person here that I would like to introduce. Most of you know me know that I have been here in Tallahassee pretty much about 20, 25 years of my life, and I feel like I'm from here, but I'm really not. So I've kind of been down here like Miss Pat all these years by myself, so I was very happy this year when my cousin called me, and he said, hey, I'm interviewing for a job at FAMU, and I may be coming to Tallahassee. And I'm like, yay, great. You know, I finally get to have somebody down here. So after months of going back and forth with FAMU, he finally worked it out. So he's going to be working here. He started here last week. He's one of the basketball coaches. His name is Condrick Sanders. I'm going to ask him to come and say a few words on behalf of FAMU Athletics.
My name is Condrick Sanders. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I just recently moved here like 2-3 weeks ago, Barbara. I loaded up my air mattress, my TV, all my clothes in the car, and I headed on out. And Barbara had already found me an apartment out there in off Appalachia. She was already working behind the scenes to get me here. So I had never been out there. She said, "Cuz I got your apartment. Don't worry about it. Just come on down, pay this money, and you're good." So I got down, had my apartment, blew my air mattress up, put my clothes in the closet, put my TV up, and I'm cool ever since. So I'm here, and I walked out on Facebook. It's been a great thing. But the thing I would like, I don't really know. This is my first year at FAL. I don't really know how the support is. But I know my last schools always had strong support from the African American community, the churches, restaurants, and everything else. So this year, yeah, we're gonna bring the team out also. But this year, I would like if all of you guys at least attend the game or attend 1 or 2 games. And just so you know, I know the new assistant coach there, a great guy from Chicago. So you see Dr. Amos tells, hey, I met the assistant coach. He's an awesome guy. Great guy, yeah. See Pastor Horn, you see Mr. Horn in church, tell him, hey, I met Coach. Great guy. But yeah, I'd like for everyone to come out and support our program, support the young men. Hopefully we can turn this program around. So you guys got any suggestions for me, anything like that, just feel free to open it up. You guys got anything you guys want to do within the team? Like you guys ever working with kids or education? One thing, I'm a certified teacher in the state of Illinois, so I always have my kids work within elementary school systems. If you guys got any group homes, any Boys and Girls Club, mentoring programs, church organizations, schools, you guys like our team to come out, maybe speak at, read books to the kids, or just to show up, just feel free to let me know or talk to Barbara, and I'll get the guys. You know, Coach Johnson, former NBA guy, so he has a big name here in the community. So is anything you guys need within the community of our players, let Barbara know, she'll let me know, and I'll be so fortunate to just take the kids out, because I think the community is important with these young men. So thanks you guys for listening, and Barbie put me on the spot. I want 2 pieces of cake, and God bless you all.
Okay, I'm going to ask Miss Pat to come out and do our closing. We do have a cake over here. We're going to be serving red velvet cake, courtesy of Miss Karen Denise. Miss Karen, would you please rise so they'll know? whose treats they're eating? Miss Pat? You're calling me? Yes, I'm calling you. Everyone has done their spiel, so we're going to let you come and close us out with a few words.
My name is Patricia Edwards, and many people look at the wall there and they see a story by Patricia Edwards, and they ask me, well, who's Patricia Edwards? I said, that was me in my other life. And there are some cute little pictures there too. You'll see me with the 4 poses there on my composite. I think I was probably about 30, 32, but I looked like I was about 24. And then there's a picture of me and my arms are out like that. I'm so happy because I just sold my first script to the Good Times TV show. I worked in the early 70s for Norman Lear Productions in Hollywood, California. Norman Lear was a great executive producer of all kinds of wonderful shows, Maude, Good Times, All in the Family, The Jeffersons, just numerous shows. Some of you weren't born then, but some of you were. But what happened was Ernie Barnes, a great artist, he was a football player with the Denver Broncos and then with the San Diego Chargers. But he was an art major in school. When I wanted to work for television, I went to him and told him I heard there was an opening for a secretary to the writers for the Good Times TV show. And he said, oh, don't worry about it. Just go up there and fill out an application. You'll get the job. It's good to have friends in high places. A lot of times it's just who you know. So anyway, I went in and another girlfriend of mine worked in the office of Good Times, Gloria. Gloria and I grew up together in San Diego, and she was working there as a production assistant. So I had 2 connections, Ernie and Gloria. Although I did have some nice things on my resume that helped me get the job too. So I landed the job as a secretary to the writers of Good Times. This was 1970, maybe about 73, 74, I think. And as I was sitting there doing all that typing, and back then, of course, we didn't have computers, we had to type. And I was typing scripts like crazy, the changes, the pickups, and all that. And then, of course, as a secretary, I had to go to all the rehearsals and the run-throughs and all the tapings. And I soon became very familiar with the format and structure for writing for a 30-minute sitcom. And I was already a creative writer anyway. So I started submitting scripts to Norman Lear, and that's how I got my scripts accepted and aired on the Good Times TV show. I heard that they were training some females for a stage manager. And I said, well, I'll go see if I can become a stage manager. Therefore, I won't have to work every day. I'll have some more time to spend for my writing. So I went to Norman and I asked him if I could be in the training program. He said, well, we were considering putting you on as a trainee staff writer, but no, you can go in the training program. So I did. For 6 weeks I was trained on becoming a stage manager. And I got this lovely letter from Norman, which I have somewhere at home, saying that he was starting a new show called One Day at a Time, starring Valerie Bertinelli, Mackenzie Phillips, Bonnie Franklin. If you remember that show, One Day at a Time. So he said there was an opportunity for me to become a stage manager on that show. And of course, I became a stage manager in that show. He paid the $5,000 membership fee for me. And that was my first show as a stage manager. I was with them for 3 years. I left that show with the director and went to another show called Diff'rent Strokes with Gary Coleman and Todd Bridges. I used to take Gary's cheeks and, what you talk about, Willis? He was a sweetheart, really. I worked a lot. I worked Maude with B. Arthur. What's Happening Now. Soul Train, Dark Cornelius, Soul Train. I did an episode with Stevie Wonder. Then I did a lot of things. It was a lot of fun. I had a great life. It's nice to get this age. You can look back on things that you did too. And I was the first African American woman to be in the Directors Guild of America as a stage manager. And I was the first African American woman to have a script aired on national television in 1974 for situation comedies. So that was something that I know and very few other people know. Great. But I know. And so here I am tonight with you wonderful people. I heard some really great stories. I am so proud of all of you that are writing and loving to write. And I hope that all of you will come back. If you want to make this a monthly thing, you're welcome to do it. The doors are open for you here. I done talked myself up. The Barbara said, let me go get her off that microphone so we can go home.
Thank you, Ms. Patton. And we will accept your invitation to come back. I just need to get with the authors and see when we can make that happen. But we certainly appreciate the invitation.